Here we go. Still not?
I'm getting there, I believe. Yes.
You don't want to try that other camera, do you? Because it's probably...
Oh, I
think you just jump on there to the camera part and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
But who knows, really? I think that we're ready to roll. Let's do this.
It just takes me a minute.
It takes us all a minute. All right. Shall we?
Yes, let's go. If I get this close to the mic, will people be able to hear me?
I think they'll hear
when
you
Coach
just
Blu
fine.
Talks over me.
It'll even sound good in post when I can post it to the
possibly if I go like this and I touch the mic.
That's how you're supposed to do it. I'm telling you, that's how it is.
Maybe you won't talk over me.
I will probably still do that. This. Haven't you noticed after all these podcasts, I still do that?
I do notice.
I get so excited. That's probably what it is.
Why are you yelling?
Athletes, listeners, viewers, welcome to One-on-One Live with Coach Blu. Hope that you can join us today. We've got some awesome topics to discuss today, specifically about Addict to Athletes' 10-year anniversary. Marissa, we've been doing this for 10 years. That's 1 decade.
1 decade.
Yeah.
We've been married for 2 decades and 1 year.
Yep.
And we've been doing this
for a long time. I want to hear from you guys out there. Submit your questions through the instant messaging, through Zoom platform here. Get on live and we'll put you on the podcast so you can talk about what you've felt, what you've experienced, what you've seen over the last 10 years with Team Addict to Athlete. Doesn't matter if you joined yesterday or if you were there on day one. I'd love to hear some of your stories about how Addict to Athletes impacted you, how you felt it's helped you grow, all that kind of stuff. So what was that? That sounded like a banshee or some kind of scary demon from beyond the
I turned on my sound for a second.
That's awesome. But before we get going, let's chat a little bit about thanking our Patreons. You guys are rock stars. We'll be doing another Patreon post probably today or tomorrow for you guys because it's our way of giving back to you for contributing to Team Addict to Athletes Patreon Foundation. It helps us spread this message further. It helps us get things that we need in place so that we can grow our chapters, so that we can extend these podcasts, and so that we can help turn the mess of addiction into the message of sobriety.
Helps us pay for these platforms and the equipment and time and
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with our super fans, shall we?
Go ahead.
Our super fans, I want to thank the Warrior Within podcast and personal development, my sensei KP, Coach Tara Butson, Brett Frew, Coach Chris Williams, Scott Foster, the Foster family, Holly Davies, and Jerem Thurston.
Thank you.
Thank you guys and gals so much. It helps so much. Again, super fans, you guys are backbones. Thank you.
We're so appreciative.
The rookies, we've got Joe Jackson, Earl Dyer, Kenny Roseman, and Josh Hansen. All of which, except for Joe, is running this weekend for Team Addict Athlete's birthday. We got Earl, Kenny, and Josh all ready to run, celebrate 10 years.
I bet Joe will be doing something to celebrate with us.
Absolutely, he will.
Over in England.
I'm looking forward to Earl signed up for the half.
Yeah, but he thinks he's injured.
Oh, no.
Our relay over the weekend.
He was going gung-ho on that one.
Well,
too.
And he did something yesterday. He thinks he may have pulled a muscle. So I don't know.
Well,
he's on the softball team too, so they might be low a man for the game tonight.
Oh man, they're going for it.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Earl, take care of yourself.
Earl, take care of yourself, man. Put it on ice. We got the pro levels. We got Selena Armitage and Gary Thurston. Thank you so much, pro level subscribers.
Thank you.
Our championship level subscribers, Shad and Freya Robinson and the whole Robinson family, Tracy Whitby and Ron and Dee Loesch. And Ron and Dee, guess what? Your stuff arrived. We're going to get this in the mail today
Patreon
for you. Your Patreon finally came.
Sorry.
It's the gold color.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
The gold color that we added to our logos is causing a delay in production.
Who would have thought that gold coloring would have been?
It's because it's gold. It's the
gold.
Best. So
well, and here's the
takes
thing,
a little longer,
right? Next year, this Patreon it changes. This whole logo thing changes. This is the only time you'll be able to get the original. So you still have time to jump on patreon.com/addict2athlete. Pick a tier that helps you. As little as $2 a month will get you all the bonus episodes. Anything beyond that opens you up to a whole bunch of other, perks and features, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Marissa, any happenings on the website that the listeners should be aware of?
Oh my goodness. I have added a page just for resources with podcast blogs, things for family members of those who struggle with addiction. So I've been trying to compile them. So it's just easier to really everything on our podcast, on our website, I think is beneficial to both those seeking recovery as well as family and friends, of a loved one and want to educate yourself more, learn a little more. How do you communicate, not enable all those things? But I've been just trying to pull those a little bit more together for you to make it a little easier to find. So please pass that along.
Perfect. So there's some questions and we're going to jump right into
we
it.
Also on the website, we have a new limited edition 10-year logo that we just released.
That's right.
It's amazing. It's awesome. We will have a few of them at our birthday party on Saturday, but they are already live in our team store. So you can get on and get them ordered if you would like a 10-year limited edition shirt. They're pretty cool. Really cool. That
will not be up for very long. Part of it is because we want it to be that limited edition. Because it's an amazing thing. 10 years. And Josh Hansen, thank you so much for helping us with our logos and whatnot. And it really is 10 years of a champion, and that's kind of the theme for this last decade. So jump on there, check it out.
Yeah, they're
You've
cool.
got some good.
There's other logos
good T-shirt
on there too,
which I like. It's
a tri-blend that's really soft and comfortable.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely. So check it out, addictathlete.org, and then go over to the team store. Is it under extracurricular or is it just on the?
I have it under both. Okay. And then we have a women's cut and a men's cut. So get on and order them.
Right on. Okay, well, let's jump into this. Marissa, I have a couple questions here that happened a while ago, but I was saving them for this episode because not only is it 10 years of Team Addict Athlete, but it's also our 200th episode of this podcast.
All at
today.
Once? Today.
I mean, I don't think the worlds could have aligned better to have this happen.
Wow. We didn't even plan it.
You know what's funny is, since we've been increasing because of the host through our Patreon, we can increase our podcast and increase our bandwidth, so to speak. We got to 200 pretty quick, it seems. Yeah. I think it was in August of last year that we hit 200.
Well, we hit 100 in like October.
Okay.
But yeah, in August, we started doing 2 podcasts a week. And I think September or October, we started 3 podcasts a week. And so, we've caught up from, we started doing this in 2018?
2017. 2017.
Well, we started before that aren't all on iTunes, but all the iTunes ones, I think maybe 2017. And then boom, we've flown, but it's been.
When we got organized, it was Eric Moon, his podcast that was first.
Yes,
Eric
to the
was
moon.
Our first podcast when we started getting serious about leaning into it. And since then we've had so many cool guests and more to come. You guys can look forward in the next couple of weeks to hearing from Christy Long, who is a longtime friend. There you go.
Yes, she is.
She was in here and oh my gosh, what a powerful story.
Great story. She just celebrated 15 years in recovery.
Congratulations, Christy.
She doesn't go into it a lot in her thing, but she struggled for a long time. And then she lost her husband to suicide on Halloween, which just added to her struggle with addiction.
And that's a hard one because that's a holiday that the kids love, but it turned into this sad thing for many years. And do you remember what she said, what she did to erase and replace?
Yeah.
She runs now, I got even emotional. She now runs the haunted half with Team Addict Athlete and with her kids each year on Halloween because that's when they do it. And that has helped them kind of.
And that's something she's only started maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And that she just, even when she quit using substances, she still struggled with Halloween. She still struggled with the trauma of that. And she says that, being able to run like that has really blessed her to be able to work through that trauma. Yeah. And so she's coming on. We spoke with a minor league baseball player yesterday who is an Ironman triathlete now. Oh my gosh.
Corey Harrington.
His podcast coming up will be.
You guys will really.
Phenomenal.
It'll blow you away. That one will blow you away.
So impressed.
And on this Friday, we're speaking with Farham.
Param Nimatola, I think is how to pronounce it. We've met him when we were down in California couple weeks ago. Well, we met him online, but then we got to meet him
online and TikTok with Dr. B.
Yeah, Dr. B. But then we got to meet him in person while we were down in Huntington Beach and get a tour of his facility and his outpatient program. And oh my gosh, his philosophy, the things he believes are phenomenal.
Yeah,
let alone
Parham is
he's a mental health therapist, addiction counselor, and he's also in recovery himself. So
yeah, coaches basketball for kids. And you know, I mean, it's a story that I'm excited to dive into. So we have more guests coming, and you, the athletes, I want to interview you guys. I want to put you on here. If you're willing and wanting to, because getting back to who we are and how this has helped you is going to be crucial in the future, because as our chapters expand, you guys are the ones that, you know, kind of know the ropes. And so getting your stories out there too would be greatly appreciated. I look back at Holly and the fews that we've done of the athletes. Wow, positive stuff. So yeah, check out 200 episodes. This is it. 200. I mean, I don't know. I was kind of a little bit nostalgic this morning when I was going through a few photos and things, looking about how all this stuff started. And you know, we've talked about it a lot, about, you know, some of the challenges that we faced when we first started Addict to Athlete. One of the things you and I noticed is that it's hard to explain what Team Addict to Athlete really is, because it goes beyond the recreation. It goes beyond some of the sports and stuff that we do. And it turns into this support team, this team. And COVID has really, you know, kind of spun us for a loop.
Yeah.
It's kind of gotten things out of I don't know, out of repetition. And so we're still trying to find our legs. We're starting to slowly but surely do that. And, you know,
we've also added to the program a lot on the other side, like even this one-on-one with Coach Blu, and having some more online resources because of COVID. So things have changed and are different.
They have
but
to,
we've
though.
also
They kind of have to be, right?
But we've also expanded in other ways that we didn't ever think were, you know, on the route. When we first started, we began just as a community support group, free community support group, alternative to a 12-step meeting. And now we do, individual family counseling, and it's not just addictions, mental health. We do this online resource that you guys can call in and submit questions, get help. We do 3 podcasts a week.
We have certified sober coach training certification.
So that if you want to expand Addict to Athlete to your neighborhood, contact us. We'll get you trained and help you get that started.
We have several coaches that have been certified in that have opened up their own businesses, personal training people, and doing it with the philosophy and the recovery coaching and athletic training. So, you know, that's out there. We are still like plowing the field with the online recovery program that we're excited to be launching here very soon. We'll have our core communication stuff on there. It'll have a family system track where families can learn how to I guess help their family heal. They themselves can heal. And then we'll have an individual track for the person in recovery that will have a lot of online resources, but also like we call it the coach's office time, where it'll be one-on-one with myself, with Marissa,
so we'll have group
with some of our other coaches if they want to jump on.
Options of individual counseling if you want to go above that.
This program will help people all over learn more about addiction, get into the mindset of recovery. You know, its hope is to be kind of, I guess, a counterbalance to some of the individual therapy that they might be receiving. And we have options for that too in the program. But the cool thing about it is it'll be able to be, I guess, welcomed into your heart with a very small amount of monetary investment, a lot less than what you typically pay for in another setting. And I'm kind of fond of our model, and I think it works well. And so if we can bring this to you guys at a price point where it's not going to financially, like, you know, consume your family, then that's what we're going to do,
and it will be more than just what we bring to our weekly meetings. It's going to be things that you and I have done for years in the clinical treatment center or treatment industry with educational groups and educational topics and instruction. And it's going to be, it's really good.
We're taking our time on it because it needs to be to the quality that you know we want it to be.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of programs out there you can jump onto, and for $1.99 a month you can get, like, you know, some regurgitated, you know, like, you know, 12-step program or something. That's not what we're doing. We're creating this all for you. So those are the things over the last 10 years that we've really been able to kind of increase to be kind of I'm going to say kind of a player in this active like lifestyle of recovery. And so I look forward to what's coming next, but we couldn't do it without our volunteers. And it's interesting because, there's been a lot going on in everyone's chapters. And the cool thing about it is, if it wasn't for our volunteers all over the state, all over the country, Addict Athlete would be nowhere that it could be. Does that make sense? It'd be like, stuck in the water.
We don't have any paid positions. We don't get paid. And what we're able to do because of our volunteers is pretty incredible.
It's phenomenal. And so, sometimes there's growing pains, sometimes there's some frustration, but at the end of the day, we are Team Addict Athlete, and that's what we do. And so hopefully with some of the stuff that we're putting in line that can help bring some more financial stability in, all we can do is grow more and help more. And, there's a lot you can do within the team that I think it would not only benefit you, but your community. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
So some of these questions, Marissa, are kind of cool. One that came in, it was early in March, and I saw it and I'm like, okay, we'll get to it. But then I was going through my emails and I found this one again. And the question revolves around what exactly is Team Addict Athlete. And we could probably spend a whole 4 or 5 shows on this. But you and I have talked about this. We have a video on our YouTube channel that pops up, and it's one that Travis Thurston, your cousin, made for us many years ago. And if you look at back there, I still had a full head of hair. I was a lot thinner then, and a spry Jeff Smith was bouncing around and whatnot. We bumped into a guy just this last week who was going to help Addict Athlete in a few ways that was there that very first meeting up in Salt Lake.
Oh, that's right.
And we were kind of like, holy crap. And then when he's like, wait a minute, that was you guys? I'm like, yeah. He's like, whoa.
The Addict Athlete I see today is still just you two.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yes.
Yes.
We are not
and
a
all
big
of our
corporation.
Volunteers and coaches. And,
it's all volunteer. Yeah.
But, if you want to know what Team Addict Athlete is, I bet the only way you're really going to be able to feel the measure of it is to be a part of it.
Yep.
But how do you go about explaining to someone who sees this video maybe for the first time that says, 200 episodes, 10 years service, what's this? And jumps in. What would you say Team Addict Athlete is?
Well, on the basic level, our mission is to establish and maintain recovery for individuals and families by promoting lifestyle changes through erasing addiction and negative behaviors, replacing it with things of greater value. So that seems, obviously, it's a big umbrella. We are not a 12-step program. We believe and support that they're all many different paths to sobriety and recovery, and they're very different ones, and we support those. We assist those not only with addiction, but also mental health. We focus on the idea that individuals can heal from addiction, that it is not a lifelong sentence, that it is not a lifelong illness, that an addict is not who you are. We do not identify as addicts. We don't have our athletes identify. It may be a part of them, but it isn't who they are.
Do you remember when we first started talking about that?
Yeah.
Do you remember the ruffles and the messed up feathers that created? Holy cow, man.
Yeah.
That made so many people mad, but it made sense to me that, the most powerful statement you can use in the English language or in language in general is I am. And anything that follows that is your truth. So if you are an addict, well, that's all you will be. And I know that there's been a lot of efforts to try and normalize that word, to try and make it this, magnanimous kind of like statement that it's just you have an issue, but it still holds a very negative connotation to it. And so,
not that you need to ignore that, because you need to pay attention, but don't we all? Like, I have never been addicted to substances, or, I've never been an addiction to gambling, but I have issues and things that I need to be aware of with, my anger, my frustration, my controlling tendencies. Like,
I've never noticed any of those from you. Are you sure?
Isn't that weird? But I don't go around and say, hi, I'm Marissa and I am a control freak. No, I know I have tendencies towards that and I need to be aware of it. And I think all of us do.
We'll use that common one, and right? Hello, I'm Blue. I'm a diabetic.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You have diabetes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
You are a
have,
person with
know.
diabetes,
Yeah.
and you can manage that.
Yep.
And
Hello,
you
I'm
need-
Coach Blu, and I am colorblind.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No.
See?
He is colorblind though.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
That's
It's
not
just a
who
part.
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something about him, and he deals with it very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
I learned to dress because of you. But that's the concept of that, I think, really rubs people the wrong way. We've had people really get up in arms over that because they want to protect it. And I'm fine with that. If that works for you,
yeah,
fantastic. But I teach, and I hope the athletes understand that what the concept is that you don't have to rely on that as a backup in case of a screw up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, it's my addiction. No, you can take accountability for that, and then you move on. Yeah. I'm 25 years now clean. That's Absolutely. Insane.
Well, and I don't, when I struggle with controlling things, I don't say, well, it's because I'm a control freak. Oh, well, like to me, if I say that, I'm excusing that negative behavior, not being accountable to it, and accountable to me being a person, me being a mother, me being a wife. Those things are way more important to me than I am a control freak. Mm-hmm. Because no, I don't want that to be the biggest part of who I am. So I'm going to be aware of it so that I can address it. Not just, it really frustrates me with a lot of things that people say when they say, well, that's just how I am. That's just who I am.
Oh man.
Whether it's addiction or anything.
We were watching a documentary the other day and they kept saying that. And I could see you being that's like it is what it is comment.
Yeah. I don't know. No. Yeah. All behavior is learned, which means behavior can be unlearned. Mm-hmm. If it's a behavior you are talking about, it can be addressed.
Right.
And many times it can be eliminated.
So then what do you think it is then? Because that's one of our foundational parts of the team is that we identify ourselves as more than, right? Then why do you think so many people need or feel the desire to want to defend that? Do you think it's because they're nervous about what else they could be? Or that if they say, all right, now I'm this, that addiction will rear its ugly head and then take over even harder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, what do you think
it's a lot of things. I think it's because that's what they've been ingrained to understand and know and believe. And because maybe the 12-step communities are how they got clean, that they believe that that's what it is. By being able to identify as an addict is what helped them. And so if they let go of that, then they may lose their sobriety or their recovery. But I also, I think a lot of people, it's habit. And it's not just the 12-step. It is in culture. It is everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere pushes a lot of this, which I believe is a very negative stigma that needs to be changed.
Right.
I think it hurts a lot of people more than it helps. If it helps you, fantastic. But don't tell someone else that if they don't look that way, that they're wrong.
They're wrong. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it's interesting since we've started 10 years ago, the culture shift in the addiction recovery world. I mean, 10 years ago, there weren't things like MAT, legalization of many substances wasn't even on the radar. There was a push, but it hadn't taken hold yet.
There was some MAT, but it was not looked. It was hidden.
No, it was kind of non-existent.
And if you look at even just methadone, that's been out since like the 70s, but that was,
it just wasn't mainstream.
No. And the stigma behind it was enormous. I mean, I watched some things the other day talking about how many people have lied about who they are or what they do when going to treatment or to a fellowship or a support group.
They've had to,
they knew that the way they were living their life was not incongruent with the rules of the club, I guess you could say. And so to be part, they've lied about it.
Yeah.
Rather than being able to be open and honest about what they're doing and what's helping them.
Do you know, I hated that little period of time. And I don't know, because we haven't been in the industry for a minute now, but needing to have people come in that needed help and then, not being able to do it because they didn't have drugs in their system. Mm-hmm. So literally I've heard of programs telling their potential clients to go out and use insurance companies. What the F? Because insurance, you saw that insurance thing.
Because insurance I did all of the utilization reviews and for over 3 years. And that's, if insurance companies see that you have a clean UA and drug test, they're like, well, you don't need treatment then. You can do that at home. You just did. why would we pay for you to go to treatment?
Mm-hmm.
And which in some ways makes sense. Obviously, they're a business and they need to cover themselves, but not when it comes to really the overall health of a person,
Right.
like mostly to the point that I also know some very dirty facilities in Florida that are hopefully continuing to get shut down that will go out and find clients and give them substances and keep them
I've read
in
about that.
a quote sober home until a bed opens up in treatment.
I've
And
read
that
about that.
is horrifying to me.
Anybody who wants to take a deeper dive on that, I highly recommend going back and listening to the podcast we did with Ryan Ward.
Yep. It's on YouTube and our podcast.
Ryan is an advocate for the individual seeking help and holds people accountable to the level that I've never seen before.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
And so much so that a close friend of his who was just caught for patient brokering, which is a big no-no now, that I'm sure still happens, because if there's money, there's going to be ways people want it.
Well, and it's sad because it's a longtime friend of his. It's Lindsay Lohan's father, Michael Lohan. You can see it in the news. It's not hard to find. Was just arrested for doing this. And he has, Ryan has done business with him and thought that he was very on the up and up, and, that he disagreed with all of the patient brokering too. And now they're finding out he was being paid, under the table to get clients to certain facilities.
And when I hear about that kind of stuff, and this is the thing that we read about, it just talked about Mike. It didn't talk about the treatment facility that was doing it. So I'm like, so where are the repercussions for that treatment center
who was writing the checks?
Who was writing the checks? Because now they got caught. They can't be like, oh, well, we happen to just give this money to him.
Yeah.
They are just as liable for keeping that going. And so I think that the hammer should fall on both ends.
And it's great. Florida is doing phenomenal. They've already arrested over 100 people in the last couple of years who have been doing this patient brokering. And thank heavens they're trying to shut this kind of stuff down. I mean, you don't see, you and I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
You don't see somebody that works as a marketer for a hospital going around trying to find patients for the hospital and saying, hey, if I find, an open heart patient that needs open heart surgery, will you give me a kickback, $5,000? Yeah, absolutely. That's what's happening in residential treatment. It's not real treatment.
This is why I'm seeing the writing on the wall that's going to be an obsolete industry soon. And I think it'll go medical model. I think you'll do it in hospitals. It'll be controlled more. And I think that programs and individual therapists will get busier outside of residential because it's not cost effective.
They don't have enough regulations, and sadly and I think it happens in every industry. Greed breeds some pretty nasty stuff. And
I'm sure it does. And it makes sense on how.
So there's got to be, some oversight to help keep people in line who can't keep themselves in line when money comes around.
Absolutely. And getting back to the way that we view those things, one of the things I've appreciated over the 10 years is to see the longevity of the core folks who used it, who's using Team Addict to Athlete as just kind of like, their backup, that they start living life. They use it as a support system. They use it because, hey, I'm recreating anyway. When I'm with this team, we can do this together, solidarity kind of thing. And we've seen athletes come and we've seen athletes go. And, there's been many times over these 10 years that we've had differences and opinions from athletes and whatnot, but the core of it remains the same, that we'll always be here. And it doesn't matter if you want to stay involved or if you want to, go pursue a free agent course of recovery. That's up to you. And that's what I love about the way that it works. I've said it time and time again. We're lucky in Utah because you have nonprofit and community support groups that are competing for your attention. And to me, I'm thinking that is the coolest thing.
The more resources, the better. And so
I think so.
Yeah.
It's
find what works for you and live it more. Our biggest focus is positive psychology. It's looking forward. It's not looking back. A lot of our meetings and topics, even here, we don't discuss a lot of the substance use or substance misuse or the addiction and those behaviors. We address the stuff maybe that's more underlying, which everyone in the world has, whether it's depression or sadness or heartbreak, trauma, how do you address that so that you can create better, healthier coping skills for life in general? So that's why we are open to anyone coming to our meetings, not just somebody that's seeking recovery.
Yep.
Family, friends, loved ones. You can bring your kids to every meeting.
Man, I'll never forget that first year, that very first race we did 10 years on Saturday when they busted out those Addict to Athlete shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you guys sure? Like, ooh, geez,
Yeah.
This means you guys are stepping out of anonymity. We did a deep dive on the anonymity and storytelling on the Agents of Recovery podcast.
Yeah. That's a podcast you do with Max Hall and Brock Bevel.
And it's funny looking back at it now because I was so worried that the repercussions would fall on me because I'm the licensed professional. And the funny thing about it is that I couldn't talk them out of it. They were like, no, we're proud of this.
Yeah.
And that to me means more than you'll know about people believing enough in what we're doing and what the team's doing to represent it in areas of recreation, of family involvement. We've set some interesting high standards that really kind of came out of necessity, not so much out of like making a rule, but like things like acting with sportsmanlike behavior when you're wearing a jersey. When you're representing the team, when watching your language,
you watch your behavior.
You're not smoking, you're not swearing, you're doing things that like
you treat people with respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's cool about that too is I remember a long time ago, and I saw a video with me about this a long time ago. It said, I think it was when I was speaking at the Capitol years ago, and I said my biggest fear is that Addict to Athlete will grow too big and will compete with each other. And what's cool about that is we've grown big, but we're still competing together. Does that make sense? And to me, that's one of the funniest things. This next question from James, it says, hey, Coach, what are some of the most memorable things that are on the lighter side of Team Addict to Athlete's 10-year history that you can remember? What are the things that's made you laugh or look back and be like, wow, that was pretty amazing? The funny things about that is there's so many. I remember the first time I ran Pony Express with Keith Carter and all the athletes. And I was not ever planning on running a 50 miler. It was not in my plan. But after I made a promise to Keith, after stiffing him for a race, he chose that one. And I'm like, oh crap, man. I didn't think about that exception clause, right?
Yeah.
But the humor that we had out there, it was the funnest experience because none of us knew what the crap we were doing. We were just running in this like very long straight line.
Yeah. Dirt road.
And it was right when that stupid song Gangnam Style came out by Psy. Remember?
Oh, yes.
And we'd be out there doing the Gangnam Style dance. It was me and Judy and Ginger and Keith's brother and Jed and Wade. Yeah. And we were all out there and we were all just goofing off, just having an experience. Every one of the athletes ran that time. Jed ran the most miles he'd ever ran that day.
Just pacing you guys.
Yeah. I got yelled at by some ultra runner guru for trying to get my big fat Garmin watch to sync. And he's like, how far are you running? And I'm like, I'm running the 50. And he's like, how long is it going to take you? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, good. You'll get there when you get there. Take that stupid thing off. You don't need it. And I'm like, that was amazing advice. I remember looking at Keith being like, dude, what? And he's just laughing. And it was funny because, they kept telling us it's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. And it never was just around the corner, but that was a fun experience for me because I accomplished something I never thought possible. And it was, dare I say, a client and an athlete that challenged me to do something. That's about the time I stopped being able to beat the athletes, because there for a while I had some superior athleticism and it died very fast then. So I think that stands out to me. Some of the funner things we've been able to do, giving the chairs to the kids, the racing wheelchairs.
Yeah, I loved, there's a lot, but years ago we did the relay, the cancer relay, the 24-hour run. Yeah. Relay for life. Yeah. That's it. And so
Jaron will remember that. Jaron will remember Relay for Life. He's in the bathroom with one of the athletes and the athlete comes in screaming that.
So I have a couple of personal friends who struggled with and fought cancer, and I was able to run for them. That's the time I ran my furthest, which was a half marathon, but it's just on a 24-hour race on a high school track. They have music and food and, it's just, I love that because it's not like everyone's leaving you running by yourself for a while. There is a party all night and
Party all night.
through the whole thing, and there's candles up and
People are sleeping
like,
over.
Yeah, it was just, I remember somebody bringing like all these chicken wings.
Is that
right?
It was Judy.
Was that who it was?
It was
like
Judy. Yeah.
1 o'clock in the morning.
In fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, someone will have to correct me, but I'm thinking that was one of the first times Judy really came and invested in things, because I think she's fairly new to the program then.
Yeah.
So yeah, God, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was an awesome time.
I like those kind of, that are a bigger social event than.
And we were all kind of stuck together, huh?
Huge into running really far and long, but yeah, a lot of people just had little trackers, and many of our athletes, that was the first time they had ran a half marathon.
I remember Bruce Miller being out there just like crushing it all night long.
He pulled his daughter in a wagon.
Yeah.
He has a disabled daughter. Before we had these racing wheelchairs and these Hoyt things, that he just pulled in a wagon around the track.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was awesome. And that was kind of a cool thing too, watching my coworkers and, my bosses for that matter, get involved too. Like it was, like I told you, when I first started, I wanted to keep it a secret because I thought this is so cool that if everyone finds out that we're having these awesome experiences and that we're kind of doing things against the grain, they might make me stop. And it wasn't the case.
Because it was so different and so new. Most people were not supportive.
Yeah. I remember talking about the anonymity part and stuff. And I remember being approached by a professional in Salt Lake who said, hey, there's this new documentary coming out that's kind of saying the same thing you have. And it was called The Anonymous People. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking we even started before that, you know? And so those times are beautiful, but I've also had them almost, I'd say every experience, from running our very first county to county. I had the idea that we could run, when Addict Athlete started. I have this little notebook floating around here because I have a few notebooks.
He has a lot of notebooks.
I have the notebook when Addict Athlete first started, and I would jot down all these ideas and stuff, and the ideas I had.
He has a lot of little cartoons in them too.
I draw on them.
Artist.
ADHD. And I'll have to find it. Maybe I can post a picture of it on Addict Athlete because it's his history. Mm-hmm. But I said list of things to do with the team as we got established.
Yeah.
And the first one was get some shirts made.
Yeah.
Remember those yellow and red shirts that faded away with the first wash, and we got so mad at the I remember getting I want t-shirts. I want to do a 5K, and I thought I want to run from county line to county line. I have no idea why I thought this, but those were the three things.
That was in one of your first ones?
Yep, that what I wanted to do. Oh. And we made it all happen.
Yeah.
The first time we ran county to county was mind-blowing because we started way down there in Juab, Juab and
the top of Juab County, bottom of Utah County.
Fox News comes out and films us. Right.
Yeah. Moab or no, Mona. Sorry. Mona, Utah.
Yeah, not go that far. And we were and it just so happened that we could finish downtown Gallivan Plaza where the USARA run was going to be held. And we timed it so that when we rolled in there, we would run in and then turn around and run their 5K, which before we started seemed like a great idea.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, just all night. I rode my bike I was out on my bike the whole time with all the athletes. Because back then, no one had bikes but me. Yeah. And so I had to end up giving up the bike for a few years because everyone was running. And Jed still talks about the horror stories of seeing that blinking light. I remember Cody Harvey running until he threw up, and we're like, dude, maybe that should be it. Cody. I remember meeting Salt Lake chapter at the county line, and then we ran with them. I remember Jeff Smith telling me about his prison experience as we ran past the prison and the growth that he had. And
I remember
asking him that.
Him saying, just looking out the window at the mountains and just dreaming of when he could get to the top. He wasn't a hiker. He wasn't a runner. He wasn't a, really outdoorsman. He was, quote, an addict criminal who was always in and out and on the street. And when he got out, he ran up to the top of the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember him having that. And I remember we were just a little bit early, which is kind of strange. And we all ran into Gallivan Plaza. And when we ran in, we turned up the street where the race was to begin. And so all the people there waiting for the race to start and stuff, they started cheering for the athletes.
Yeah.
And someone over the microphone said, "This is Team Addict Athlete. They've been running all night from Utah County." And it was like,
It's welcome.
Oh my gosh, it was so loud. And I remember when we finished, everyone just kind of gathered. I hung back so I could film all the athletes go in, and they were all just hugging each other, and some were crying, and then they said go, and we went and ran theirs with them. But oh my gosh, that was powerful. It put us in a position where we knew that we didn't have to be afraid of where we've been or who we were.
Yeah,
that was a big thing. I mean, I look at that kind of stuff and I'm like, that was the same time the year before that I had my little chew out with Mr. Black when he stopped to tie his shoe, and I'm like, what the freak are you doing? All those things I remember, like, that was a big deal. But those were the three things: our
That's
5K, awesome. a county run all
and
the way
shirts.
through the county, and shirts, which is so strange.
I mean, now we've got
that first 5K,
13 chapters in Utah, some out of Utah, one at the state prison. We have thousands of athletes that, participate here and there, and some that are very regular, and an annual 5K. And we do other big events, family events, fundraising events.
Our very first
year.
5K, I remember that was over the top because, I mean, do you remember? Like, there we are at the Highland Glen Park, and on a whim, I'm like, we should get this sign made, and I don't even know why, but like, let's get a sign made and give it to the mayor, because we asked the mayor to start the race. And if I remember right, we picked Highland because that year in 2011, Highland had one of the highest. It was 2012. Yeah, Highland had one of the highest overdose rates in the state, or in the Utah County anyway. And we went and we did that, and that race was phenomenal. That was a race that I had another experience where right before we started, I noticed this guy walking around the lake there. And that park has gotten beautiful, over these last 10 years. But there was this guy walking around, and right before we started, he came over and asked if he could get his packet. And I'd found out that he'd been there, but he was nervous about coming to run because his daughter had overdosed, and he didn't know what this would be. He didn't know if he'd be judged or if it would be challenging for him. But he had the courage once he started seeing everybody, letting the balloons go and stuff.
We had our moment of silence at the beginning.
That's when he came over, and man, I wish now I would have known stuff that I know now back then, so I could have pulled him in a little bit more. But for me, it was everything was so new, right? Yeah. And we had to get this race started and stuff. But man, that was powerful. Yeah. I think Jeff Smith won that race, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I think he did. Yeah, I remember Don Hutchings, one of the first time he ran in like boots, which is weird.
Work boots.
Yeah, I'm like, who'd have thought? But just holy cow! All these years later,
we've had basketball teams, softball teams, teams for bowling, like in a bowling league. We have a softball team this season again who plays on Thursday nights, and the public rec, we don't have them play in sober softball because we want to have them. That's part of our basic goal, is to be able to change the public's perception of what an addict is, what addiction is, and what somebody in recovery can do. And we can't do that staying in the same group of people. So we participate in, public races, and we participate in, a community-based softball league. And
how do you feel
that's
about
how we
that?
teach?
Because I remember
I love it.
A lot of people ask us about that, and it's not that we have anything against the sober leagues. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah,
they do great, and they are so needed. But for what we wanted to do, it was to get back into that mindset of like, you're not a special case. You can play and be with.
Well, and again, all of us have to learn how to participate mainstream in life, no matter what.
Do you remember what happened?
And that helps. That's how we teach.
Do you remember what happened? Like, there's so many cool things that happened there because we were in that mainstream league. there were times when over the PA system, they'd say, addicts take the field.
Yeah.
And
Addicts, field 4.
I think Carly was one of the first ones to go up there and tell them that they're not addicts. Please say our full name.
Yeah. Because that's not who we are. And again, something that they just want, we have a really long, I don't think it was anything to be mean.
No,
I think it was, we have a really long name. And so they were just like, hey, addicts on field 4.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, this is a teaching opportunity. This is how we teach. And if I remember right, the people have always, apologized and like, oh, I understand. I see why that's important to you, which then becomes important to them.
Yeah.
And it teaches them to be more understanding, to be more open and empathetic to other people.
Yeah.
I
remember, like other teams like mocking us until they found out really who we were.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, as they're going down the lines, giving each other high fives and pats on the behind, they're saying, hey, sorry, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Teaching moments. I remember an ump that was talking crazy to one of our athletes.
Yeah.
And we had to go all the way to the city on that one because it was inappropriate. And it was kind of like, to me, I'm thinking they put themselves out there to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about. And I love it, the fact that we stunk. I mean, it's just because we don't know what we're doing. We're out there to have fun.
Well, that's it. That a lot of our athletes haven't done things like that. They're just getting clean and finding out who they are. And that's part of it. We're like, try something new, try anything, get involved, don't feel bad if you've never thrown a softball.
Yeah.
Just come and play and get involved.
Absolutely.
Or if you used to play high school and you were like, the all-star player at your high school team, come and teach this guy who's never thrown a ball.
Yeah.
And we do it together.
And
that's what makes it so special and so amazing.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it too is, we've grown immensely. I think this team, the stuff we've been through happy times, sad times, losing athletes. Good grief, man. I remember the first time when we lost an athlete, Brittany Hurdle. That was right at the beginning of like the heavy opiate epidemic beginning. And my gosh, like, who'd have thought that we've got so many now. Yeah. But the cool part about it is with the responsibility of now being a proxy runner for those that have lost the battle, taken the knee. Yeah. It helps put us in a mindset of not, to remembering them. They deserve to be remembered too. And that absolutely, it's not the way that.
And if you have a family member or a friend or a loved one that has lost the battle, please let us know. When we do these races, we ran for a few last week in our Break the Cycle relay.
Yes, we did.
But also join us every September. We do a 5K. We will be doing another one this year. I think we're hoping to maybe do it in Highland Glen. We should have our registration open soon, but we will be offering a virtual race where you can do it anywhere you're at. You can join with us to run for your loved one. Yeah. To run proxy, continue to share and honor them. I loved it. We have Vinny from California who found us last year on Instagram, and he wanted to run for his recovery. He had just hit 3 years and he found out about our race. And last year we weren't able to meet together. He got over 30 family and friends, met at a high school track, and they all ran to celebrate him.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine what that felt like for him.
Incredible for him because he recognizes the relationships that he almost lost, the relationships that he sacrificed for years to his addiction, to his lying, to his manipulation, and the work he's put in, but also the grace and the forgiveness his family has put in and the support they've given him to get where he's at.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's about.
That's what that very first 5K was 10 years ago. It was, and it was funny because I kind of held back. I didn't know my place back then. And so I didn't mingle a lot with the athletes that day. I just kind of like stayed back because I'm like, I don't know where I am, what my role is here yet. And the funny thing about that too is watching them come in and having like this cheer, this crowds, people cheering for them, not knowing that they have these addiction, but they looked at them as athletes. Yep. And that's what I wanted. I've got to thank the running community.
Yeah.
I mean, they've accepted them. You know, the Wasatch Wranglers and
Yeah.
the Trail and Pavement crew and all these guys. They've
John
just
Bozong and
John
the ultra,
Bozong,
his race and his, the ultra running community, but also just the regular running community, the guys that just go out and do a 5K that,
we have Brian and Brian Beckstead in Ultra. I mean, they've
Ultra
just
supported us for 10 years.
Yeah. Funny enough, we're almost the same age at Ultra and Addict to Athlete, which is funny.
We're just a couple months behind.
But the funny thing about it all is, I got to thank the communities, law enforcement. Holy cow, man.
We've had tons of support from law enforcement, from adult probation and parole, judges and courts, and that people see the benefit, that it's helping, that it's not just, okay, let's just incarcerate and let's just be, behavior modification, but like, wow, this is helping. And so they've let athletes, stay out later if they have a curfew, if they're participating with the team. They allow them to count our meetings as some of their required, community support meetings, and not just the 12-step meetings. They support it. In fact, we have a lot of Facebook pages. The home base is our big one for anyone, but then we have the local chapters pages, and I have questions on them when they come in. How did you hear about Addict to Athlete? And I get the best array. Some I found you and I Google searched on the internet. Some, my judge told me about you, my probation officer, my therapist. I heard about you in treatment. I love
there for a while. They're like, I saw you on TV in a commercial. We're like, what?
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. And was that the KSL?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Yeah. Cause even my grandma's like, Hey, Blue, I just saw you on TV.
Yep.
And we were like, what was that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sweet. Where's my royalties, right?
Great.
It's hard to put your finger on just one thing. And, although Addict to Athlete will never be what it was when we first started, it can be more tomorrow and the years coming, because we're not going anywhere.
And all of that comes into play with you, the athlete, anyone that wants to get involved, and what you put in, what you're willing to invest and help and be part of. You help make the team.
Yeah. It is. I've said that from day one. This is not my team. I may have thought of the idea, but this is your team. And I love it when our coaches really kind of lean into that they'll use us for support, but they'll know that they are the coach of their team.
Yeah. Like our St. George team, they're doing like pickleball every week.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, we have a workout or a run and they do pickleball. Fantastic. In fact, sometimes I'm like, I want to learn how to play pickleball.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this other?
Uenta?
CrossFit.
Look at their CrossFitting, man. Coach James gets them down doing their work. And, speaking of that.
Iron County, they're huge into softball. They, in fact, I think they just won their tournament this last. It's what the athletes that are in the group want to be a part of. We want to help support, and we do our best to find sponsors and donations and support to get them involved in whatever sport or event they want to do. It's not just running here.
And more impactful is that it's for your family. It's not just for you. The minor league is a huge part of this. And as things start to loosen up, we're going to be doing more stuff with the minor league. And I don't know, it's grown into this very amazing experience, and it's a privilege to be a part of it, and as we grow, all it's going to do is make it easier for the community at large to be part of something great, and I still think that we hold very true to our core values that we've set for ourselves. And,
we have some core philosophy that we really support and encourage to keep going, because we believe in it. We've seen it work, and we know it's helpful.
It's funny too. I was talking to somebody. It was the other day when I bumped into Mikey, and we were talking about it. And he's like, "Blue, I see you everywhere." And I'm like, "Dude, reach out, man."
What do you mean?
And it's funny because, it is. We're you've pushed up our social media, and our reach and whatnot. But athletes, post your stuff. Kevin Cox made this awesome video for the last relay we just did.
It was fun.
Post your things, get it out there. It doesn't have to just come from
and
Coach
that's it.
Blu
We are
and
more
Marissa.
than just runners. Kevin Cox is an amazing runner.
I think he just kind of started
and then all of a sudden he's like, I really want to start doing photography, and he's
good
gotten
at it.
really, really
He's got
good.
an amazing
But
eye.
now he's like doing photography and video, and like we do have an Addict to Artist program. We have an active one in Elko, Nevada, and we have the Facebook page because we don't have the active group here right now. But get on there and post some things that you're creating, post what you're doing, post, share and tag us in maybe a way that we've inspired you, or our athletes, or things you've learned. We would love to hear that. Love it.
Absolutely. It's about growth. It's about humility. It's about trust. It's about grit, perseverance, all that stuff. And, I think capstoning a lot of this kind of stuff, it's also about, the end of the year when we get to turn our attention into the less fortunate and the Project ELF. I mean,
we haven't
Terry
even talked
Sawyer,
about that.
Terry Sawyer helped
we do so
us
much service.
Get involved there. And my gosh, like, it's funny. We always say we're only going to take X amount of applications, and then like clockwork, we get more because that's where the need's at. And,
50 plus the last few years of kids that we have helped. And we don't provide just a few Christmas presents. We provide the whole Christmas as well, like the basic needs, toys, fun stuff, stocking, candy, and
those come from donations. Those come from sponsors. Those come from family, friends, and addicts,
volunteers that help
friends.
Collect stuff, volunteers that help me, organize and coordinate. And, it's a huge endeavor. And that's just one piece of the service that the team provides and is part of.
That was one of those things too that I never really thought I remember when it started in the group, Team Addict to Athlete, it just started. And in my therapy group, I asked a question, who in here is nervous about Christmas? And a couple of them raised their hands, and I'm like, we have enough people here to help you. What do you need? And that's where it started. When Terry Sawyer came on board and we found out she had her Santa's elves
Project Elf that she'd been doing,
and we joined forces. Oh man.
Yeah.
And then she got to the point where she got so busy that she just said, hey, I'm giving you this baby here.
Yeah.
And I hope we've done it well. I hope that we've been able to keep it going, which is kind of interesting to talk about at the beginning of summer, but that's just more of what the athletes do, right?
Yeah.
So the last question before we get off of here is what's coming next. And I think we talked a little bit about that, right? About the online programs and whatnot. Yes. But chapter expansions, you guys are going to have teams all over, and, we keep growing.
I just got an email today from somebody in Oregon that's interested. And, this isn't something we want to keep quiet in just Utah County.
Nope.
Like, we have training, we have support. And
we have a playbook.
Yep. The more sponsors and donations that we can get for our podcast from Patreon, from you, the individual, to help us with these 5Ks and fundraisers, the more we can do and the bigger we can expand to be able to provide support for everyone.
It would take us hours to go into how much we've done from purchasing headstones for people who didn't have them, to, sponsorships and races, shoes. We've bought in lots of athletes' groceries.
I mean, we've helped pay rent. We've paid, that's another reason we haven't been paid in as a job, because we get donations and then there's a bigger need. And so we, the need is necessary. The need is great. And so is the support, and,
school supplies.
If you're willing to donate, if you're willing to become a patron, please.
Yeah.
It's needed.
I love the Patreon thing just because I feel like you're getting something in return. And that's to me, like one of the beautiful parts of what that is. It's like, donations are great, but Patreon also gives you something in return where I feel like it's exclusive. And we're going to be doing some more stuff with the Patreon group here shortly. But which is weird because you remember our very first Giving Tuesday we tried to get involved with. We didn't realize that you needed to really kind of boast about yourself.
Yeah.
And you needed to say things that you have done and all kinds of stuff. And we've never really operated like that because it's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, look at us. Weird thing. I get why they want it, but we do so much stuff with you and the team and the support that you guys offer that when we first had to start talking about Project ELF and, the other things,
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it felt
man,
weird
it
because
felt
it felt
weird.
like that we were only saying it for, you know,
Look at us.
everyone else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Look
Look
what
what
we're
we've
doing.
done. And that's not it.
It's
But I
not who we
guess,
are,
you know,
but
we're learning that that's what you have to do to get people to give more, is to recognize that you're utilizing what you have well,
Yeah.
and, or to just see what, you know, the impact we're making. And we're making a huge impact with a very small budget. And
Again, that's because that
there's so
is
much
100%
more
because of the volunteers. If it
volunteers.
wasn't for them, this would be a very small organization and probably just a hobby.
Yeah.
So, athletes, that's 10 years. I look forward to having this weekend as we celebrate together. We're having a get together in Provo, Utah. We'll probably broadcast some of that live because, unbeknownst to some of the athletes, and I'll keep it a secret, I fully intend on awarding several athletes that have had incredible service over the last 10 years, and sometimes, you know, less than or more than. Some special awards and prizes. We didn't get to do our year in review, although this won't take over for that. I've got some things up my sleeve that I'm going to present to several athletes throughout the state and throughout the country, so to speak, of a few items of recognition. And so I would definitely tune in. We're going to be having some games, probably some volleyball stuff, tournaments, some food, some fun. And we're going to talk about and just be a team together. So if you want to be a part of that, you're in the local area, we'll follow our Facebook posts, social media. You'll find out where we're at.
Our website. If you know, you want to donate, but you want to get something in return, we have amazing gear in our team store, addictathlete.org or .com. Click the team store, and, you know, the proceeds come to help the nonprofit, but you get something cool and something to show off in return.
Absolutely. I want to thank Radio Ronan and the Radio Ronan Network for hosting Team Addict to Athletes podcast on the platform. Go listen to they're awesome. They got great podcasts. I'm in love with Greg's Guide to New Music. It is awesome. Cool. Again, Sensei KP and personal development, he's on there. The New Day podcast. There's so many good ones, and of course, Radio Ronan, the flagship. Go check out that with Josh Hansen, who is a great friend of mine. I don't know if you've been listening, but Josh and I have this funny little dialogue going right now.
So our public page, Josh and Blue, have these. Well, they're good. They're very thought-provoking messages that they're sending to each other.
We're inviting you, the listeners and the viewers of this, to feel some of the messages that we're talking about. And if you would like to, we will be tackling a 100-mile run in 2022. So start training now. We're going to be giving you guys more information. So keep up on the videos. You'll hear Josh and I conversing.
We're hoping to get them all onto YouTube too, so you can catch them there. You don't have to go back through the feed and find them. Yeah, absolutely. They're all there right now. So go check them out. But nonetheless, athletes, I want to thank each and every one of you for giving us 10 years of service. It's humbling to know that when we first started this, we had a handful, and now we have thousands. Those of you, I know there's people out there who just listen to our podcast. Like, leave us a review. Let us know that you're listening. We, let alone every download and listen helps us too. And we're grateful for that. But we want to know that what we're saying is helpful or not. Yeah. Give us your input, please. Yeah. And I really want to thank my family, because without Marissa and my daughter Brooklyn and my daughter Savannah, which some of you know because of the podcast, my son Boston and my son Camden, if it wasn't for their support, none of this would happen. Some of you know that I said this a long time ago, that if it ever interfered with my family, I would have to stop. They've graciously allowed us, Marissa and I, to do this, and they themselves have been a huge part of this. But it was never to replace the time and the energy spent with them. The most beautiful aspect of Team Addict to Athlete was that my family got to learn alongside with each of you. They've seen some of your triumphs, and they've seen some of the failures, and they've seen some of the happiness, and they've seen some of the sadness. I mean, Brooklyn was in the car when I received the news that Carly had passed. So we get to use in real time your lessons. Team Addict to Athlete has helped raise my family. It's kind of an interesting thing when you look at it. Yeah. I mean, shoot, that's all Camden knows. He was one. Yesterday, Camden went out for the Hershey's track meet. And he was looking for his Addict to Athlete t-shirt because he wanted to represent the team.
and bring people to the team. I'm like, dude, you're running with a bunch of elementary school
Fifth
kids.
graders.
If they need help from Addict to Athlete, we're in trouble. But that's, you guys, that's where.
Because he knows it helps more than just the adults.
He knows. So I want to thank you athletes for allowing my family to be a part of your journey too. If it wasn't for them, none of this would be happening. I need you all to understand that. And they've always been willing to lend me to be your coach and to lend their mom to be your athletic director. And that's why, we are so prone to having family systems heal together through this. You've definitely helped mine, and I hope that we've helped yours. And we'll continue to do this more now than ever. Each time we've had a hard time or we've thought it's time to throw in the towel, we just keep going. And that's what we do. It's about moving on to the horizon, and when we reach it, moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
I hope to see you guys this weekend. Please share this podcast with anyone who needs it. Athletes, happy anniversary. Happy birthday, Team Addict to Athlete. 10 years, 2011 to 2020, 21. Incredible. Thank you so much. Until next time, go turn your mess